people always use the term "wake up." You know what I'm saying? I'm woke. I'm up. You know what I'm saying? And it's realizing that your reality is completely the way you create it.
Exactly.
That was the reason I started the magazine in the first place. That's the reason why it was called Live Inspired first. That's still the reason why I changed it to Infinite. Because once you realize that you literally create your life. My name is Devin Smith. Most of my friends just call me Dev, but that part's up to you. As you might have guessed already, I'm the director of the film you're about to see. Don't let the Spike Lee glasses fool you though, this is only my second film, but I still think you're in for a treat. I spent the last 2 years of my life on a journey, one that has required me to unlearn everything I thought I knew and find the best version of myself. After graduating from college, I jumped into a world I always belonged in but just didn't know existed. A world that would allow me to use my creativity to design the life I wanted. A life that would allow me to follow my inspiration and in turn, create things that would leave other people inspired and still make a living off of it all. I spent my high school and college days in North Carolina, and from what I could tell at first, it was just a place full of a whole bunch of land and college sports fanatics. What I didn't know about this place was that there was an entire culture of people here just like me. People who desired to make a living out of their ability to create. Photographers, designers, bloggers, artists, musicians, and more, who have curated some of the best products and experiences for North Carolina. Conversations among us always ended up focusing on the same things. Why don't creatives from here gain just as much attention as those from other hubs like Atlanta, New York, or LA? What's hindering our growth and recognition with two of the fastest growing cities in the country right here in one state? And why does it seem so much harder to build a career in this lane as opposed to more traditional work? And what exactly does it mean to be a creative anyway? A guy like me doesn't settle for unanswered questions, so over an entire year, throughout my own personal failures and triumphs and growing pains, I shot a documentary to put a face and identity to our culture. This is CreativeNC.
I feel like a creative is somebody that's born with a talent that can't be taught. And somebody that just completely thinks differently than the rest of the world.
For me, a creative is anyone who just demonstrates a desire to make, and it doesn't matter what the context is.
Someone who has an idea about something and execute those ideas no matter what the outside world thinks of the situation. Somebody that thinks out of the box.
Yeah. Man, when I think of somebody, a creative per se, I think of somebody who's got a vision in mind and they use whatever's around them to bring it to life. And if they can't find it, they go find it.
Not necessarily caring about the opinions of others, but in some way they do, because if you are creating and expressing yourself, of course you want that get back or that bounce back or that feedback. You want it to be accepted sometimes, or sometimes you just don't care and you do it for you, for your expressive purposes.
Like, all my life, I've been an artist. I feel like my mom told me this the other day. She was like, "Son, I'm so proud of you. I love what you're doing." And I was like, "Thank you, Mom." She was like, "It's always been in you. That artist has always been in you." I remember going to Barnes and Noble at Crabtree and you having an art show. She's like, "You remember that?" I was like, "Yeah, I do remember that a little bit." And she was like, "I knew it was in you. I just knew you had to wake it up, if that makes sense." We're all artists. At some point in place, we've got it in us, but we may be shy about showing it. We don't want to show our intelligence. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to be that nerdy kid, that geek.
It's like with creativity, things that I create and whatever else I'm involved with creatively, like it's what I can do for other people and their reaction to things. Like when I was designing clothes, it was crazy seeing people in something that I had made. And it was like they were spending their money and they bought that and they really liked it. Seeing that shit. And then before then, like I was I still am a drummer, but like I was drumming and shit and seeing people react to how I was, you know what I'm saying, making music and everything was ill. Like I like seeing people's reaction and then bringing them joy through whatever I'm trying to do.
We've got to tap into that. And I feel like I was too busy being the cool kid, chasing the women, rocking the shoes to tap into that artistic side. But I feel like once I tapped into it, it's just overflowing and it's opened so many doors. And I want to do whatever I can to help other kids in the community get this same opportunity, man, to tap into that other side. Because I love it. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel like it's always been in me. It just took positive reactions from others to open it up for me. And they say, yo, I see what you're doing and I love it. And I'm like, yo, they love my work. They love what I'm doing. Like, yo, this is crazy. I gotta keep going. I gotta keep pushing then.
So, do you think North Carolina has a creative culture?
Yeah, I think you get what you give. I hear a lot of people complaining about the triad in general, but I don't really buy it.
What are their complaints? What are the ones you've been hearing?
Green's boring. I'm bored. There's nothing going on. What is there to do? You're not bored, you're boring. Like, you can't like sit on the sidelines and then complain about the lack of content you have. That's like going through YouTube videos and complaining when you like reach the end of the channel. Go make your own.
It's like a melting pot almost. So North Carolina itself, there's a lot of different cultures and people here, a lot of personalities. Some say like people in certain areas are like followers, but I think it's just people really trying to find themselves. And at the moment where you hear their work or see their work, that's probably where their mind state is at the moment.
It's growing. It's young. We don't have any creative, and it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing because we don't have any creative industry. Industry brings infrastructure. Infrastructure brings money. And naturally with that, money pollutes and taints certain things and certain people for different reasons. So it's growing and it's young because we don't have that infrastructure, that industry here that's going to bring the dollar to it, the dollar amount. For people that are in our specific situation right now, it's not necessarily the best thing just because we want to get paid to do what we want to do. But there aren't that many industries or jobs in this area that allow for you to do that. So you have to work to build your own infrastructure. And then I think a problem that comes along with that is a lot of creators don't think about infrastructure. They just want to create. So they don't think about infrastructure and they don't think about the ability to be able to pay their bills with their specific skill set or working together so that everybody gets a chance to eat and we all have different skill sets and provide infrastructure with multiple people. So that's where we're at right now is just kind of, everybody's cultivating their own movement. It depends on what you're into.
We live in a space that wasn't built around art. You know, North Carolina's very traditional. Like it was your retirement plan situation. It wasn't, okay, I'm gonna come here and make art or they had museums, but it was like museums of plantations and stuff like that. Like, I don't think it was necessarily built on the aspect of artists growing here. I just think it's just based on the fact that there is a conservative spirit in North Carolina that we haven't thrived yet. We're just on the come up.
Raleigh's got this whole like creative wave going on with like eco fashion, and they have like an eco fashion conference that's hosted by a specific group every year, and they into textiles and kind of bringing textiles back. You got stores up there like Raleigh Denim and stuff like that that are kind of like taking the older root of what North Carolina was with textiles and agriculture and like bringing it to it and bringing it current, making it current. You got Greensboro, that's kind of like Greensboro, Winston-Salem, the kind of triangle. I mean, not triangle, but the triad area that's really like college based, and everybody's just kind of trying to figure themselves out. Everything's really, really kind of low there. And then you got people that are kind of like retired creative folk there that are kind of like maybe own galleries or do something like that. And in Charlotte, you have like this like corporate industry where like art is seen as like a rich person's hobby. And, for people who want to make a lifestyle out of it, like there aren't that many roles that will allow for you to do that in a city that's based in money and commerce and banking and stuff like that. So it's still all a growing process all across the state. As far as work goes, some people really do feel like they're above other motherfuckers. And it's like, you can't be thinking like that when you're trying to bring up North Carolina as a whole. You got to see it as, okay, that's my equal because we've both been putting in work. You know what I'm saying? If somebody else is not, they haven't put in as much work as you can acknowledge them, help them grow, and then once they reach your point, like work with them. But don't ever be on some like, I'm shitting on you, fuck you because you ain't doing nothing right. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that shit. That's how it's not going to work.
I think it's that there's never been like really Let's see. Like, it's so hard to get noticed in North Carolina. And so, like, I think that if people think they'll, like, collaborate with other people, it'll take the shine off them.
Yeah, the crabs in a bucket shit.
Yeah, the crabs in the bucket. They'll put the shine on somebody else, and it just, like, they want all the attention, all the glory for themselves instead of, like, spreading it around and coming up as, like, a unit, I guess.
Anybody who's talented, has got an eye for it, and wants to work, and is passionate about it, let's work. But that's what it's going to take for North Carolina to come together, is putting egos aside, putting pride aside, and just linking up, man. That's what it's going to take.
I think one of the struggles with creatives is just running out of time, just like anyone else. I mean, and not necessarily wanting to spend the time building that community when you're already trying to build your business and build your sales and do a lot of other things at the same time.
You have so many people who do photography, videography, graphic design that are stellar, and it's quality-wise. But when it comes down to the business side, when it comes down to collaborating or their output or their reach and actually facilitating it and getting it out, I think they wear too many hats. I think your photographer wants to be a photographer as well as be his own manager, and a lot of people who are creative don't understand the business side of it. So they end up doing a $1,000 photo shoot for $250. Then they end up being upset because they can never truly go out and get the things that they want or really lead at other job because they don't know how to leverage themselves. They don't know how to take opportunities and build it and create resume builders versus portfolio builders. Like, they're constantly trying to do creative stuff instead of trying to work with the bigger companies. You got Coca-Cola here, you got Cheerwine, you got NASCAR that's here, but instead they want to go out and they want to shoot girls all day and get no money for it and get no recognition for it. Creatively, it's there. Leverage-wise, business-wise, it's ass. Can I cuss? I'm Paris Pullen. I'm from Dayton, Ohio originally. I moved here in February of 2007. My mom actually came here in like December to visit some friends or family. Came back with house keys. So Dayton is a situation where you necessarily don't want to stay there. It's kind of the hood. So you get an opportunity to leave, you take it. So I've been here ever since. I enjoy it. Do brand consulting, web development. I'm a blogger for HireCitizen.com. Partner in the Hires, which is a digital advertising agency that we're building centered around bloggers in the Southeast region. Currently one of GQ style ambassadors for the Look Look Live series, as well as a Details Network contributor.
My name is David Butler. I go by Dave Has Wings. I run DaveHasWings.com, and I'm the owner of the Featherbed lifestyle marketing, if you will. So I work with people on 4 prongs of their brand. So their brand identity, events, merchandising, and also provide media services through photography and video to enhance people's brands.
My name is Maya Elias. I am a branding consultant for my website, mayaelias.com, and I am a web designer and graphic designer for Brandwich, which I'm the owner of. It's a creative agency dedicated to helping nonprofits and passionate entrepreneurs make more money in their business.
It's interesting, man. It was something I was like, okay, like you got clothing brands and you have people who do merchandise, and merchandising was kind of my intro. I had a professor, Dr. Will Boone at Winston-Salem State University, who had a media company called Afro Blue Media. He took an interest in me because I had a good grade in his class, and I used to wear like streetwear around school. I was kind of known for my style a little bit, or he noticed my style, I should say. And he let me know if I wanted to design anything, t-shirts, hats, accessories, whatever, he would pay for it through the company and put a company name on it. It'd kind of be like internship experience for me. So I did that, and I took about a year. I did that for probably about a year and a half, where I did everything on the merchandising and event aspect for him. So I built his first online store, shot his first lookbook, met with screen printers, met with designers, got everything, handled the logistics. And then once he started putting on like local events, I would run like the merchandising table and then keep track of inventory and stuff like that.
When I was in high school, I started making MySpace pages. I thought that was like the most fun thing ever. I used to play around with the HTML and have like scrolling marquees going around my page. I was just doing way too much now that I look back on it, but I used to have so much fun with it. And then when I moved to Charlotte, I was going to CPCC and I met a guy and he asked me if I knew how to make custom MySpace pages. And I was like, yeah, I know how to. And he offered me money to do it. And it was at that point where I was like, wow, I can actually get money doing something that I like. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to just make a business, not even really knowing what a business is. But I just figured if I'm getting paid doing something I like, maybe that's what a business is. So that's kind of how I started professionally with that, making MySpace pages. I guess the biggest projects that I did when I first started, and I was 18, 19 years old while this was going on, is I met a guy through MySpace who said he was starting a magazine. And the girls that were in his magazine were actually the girls from like the VH1 like love competition shows, like For the Love of Ray J and stuff like that. Yeah. So those were my very first clients basically, and I used to make their MySpace pages for them and they used to pay me money, and it's so funny. And now it's funny kind of like looking back at VH1 and stuff like that, just looking at these people, because I'm like, they're all just so regular. Like at first I thought it was cool, but like some of them couldn't even really afford to pay me, and I was only charging between like $50 and $100 back then. So I was just like, okay, this is weird. And I was like, I know this is something I don't really want to do anymore. But that was pretty much my starting point as far as like graphic design. Then after doing the whole MySpace thing, I met a lady that said she needed a website. And because I knew how to code MySpace pages, I used to tell people that I was a web designer, even though I had never designed a website in my life. But she'd paid me like $350 or $400, and I was like, okay, now I need to learn how to make a website. So I Googled and I got on YouTube. I figured out how to do it. And that's pretty much my humble beginnings.
At Weaver Academy, I met Dow Hamlin, who's kind of like my art mentor. And prior to getting there, I was anti-Mac. I was anti-digital art. I was just opposed to all things computer related. And he said, actually, there is artistry to this, and you can make money doing it. And up until that point, I hadn't considered art as business. It was just a thing that I enjoyed that was like a nice relaxation type of thing.
What was that like for you, that moment?
It was incredible. Yeah, it was awesome. He basically said, you can have a job doing what you do already. So, yeah, it was nice.
You don't have to compromise your shit and work for somebody else. You can do what you want to do and live off that, and your family can be straight, and you can help other people too. A lot of people want to do that, but also a lot of people are afraid to. Mm-hmm. That's what separates us, because they're so cool with comfortability. Like, they don't want to take the risk of, ooh, this might not work out. But that's the thing, like, to get a reward, you have to take a risk, so.
I think it's real hard for people to want to take that creative risk when they're not getting that check.
Yeah.
Because they'll get real annoyed when you out here, like, putting in all this work and you're not getting the amount of money that you think you deserve. For me, I would say being in a college town and just taking pictures of people, I would like to charge them a lot more. But I know that they can't afford it because we're in college and we're broke. And so I think sometimes it's just really frustrating to just have to cut your prices so much and just still have to deal with all of the ins and outs of just working with people, and just because people really don't like respect the time and just effort you put into learning stuff. And they think just because you have a really nice camera, it's gonna be like a really nice picture. But they don't think about like, learn like lighting, composition, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just frustrating. A big part of cutting the frustration is just learning to be patient. Because if you learn patience, you can master anything. Because all this stuff will pass. We'll eventually make it to the greener grass. But we gotta go through these thorns first.
That's the thing, a lot of people, they don't even see the greener grass shit. Like, they just be all like, man, this shit right now, bro, it's weak. I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna go and do this other thing. But it's like, if you sit and you really trying to do it, like whatever you are trying to do, if you really want to do it and you do not stop, you're going to do it.
Like there's a machine that runs our country, you know what I mean? There's everything, there are all systems set up, whether it's an educational system, whether it's like just business in general and capitalism, like, and all of those things, like, you can't have too many outliers or too many, in that case, let's say independent thinkers. You can't have too many people that think outside of the box, because then the system doesn't work. It doesn't work without bodies. It doesn't work without people that are like dialed into it. Like the systems that we live in, whether it's government, you know what I'm saying, like I said, capitalism, like or your respective economy, whatever part of the country you're in, like it doesn't work without having people that feed into it. So if you have too many independent thinkers, then you know people start to think outside of the box and people start to change things, and then you have to change your system or you have to adapt your system, and that's not in the favor of people of things that are at a large scale, such as like a government or like an economy. Like when you have large amounts of people that are thinking outside of the context of what's needed to make that machine run, that's when you start having problems. So that's who the problem is really for. And it's really unfair because you don't allow those younger people to get the opportunity to really see what they're capable of or what their true selves are. So many people are like suppressed.
If you don't choose that route, like this government is like, you know, you're supposed to learn, you're supposed to go to college. Like if you choose not to, like some of us need to fail for us like to like get what we want sometimes. Like, you know, like look. Not forget, you know.
No, you are very intelligent. Just remember I said that you're very smart.
Just, in my opinion, school kills creativity. We're told to act a certain way, we're told to take certain classes, we're told to confine ourselves to who we're supposed to be and not who we really are.
You like to write, you know what I mean? You like to document things, you like to create a narrative for something. How you gonna do that? Because that's what really satisfies you. How you gonna do that and make a living at the same time?
Right.
Because when I find that, that's bliss.
Yeah.
I'm cool. I can wake up and be like, hell yeah. Because it ain't nothing worse than waking up and be like, damn, I gotta go make a living today. That is not that sentence don't even sound right. Damn, I gotta go make a living. You know what I'm saying? It ain't supposed to be like that. But we'll see. We'll see.
Only time will tell. That's like the only thing in there. Like,
yeah. Only time will tell, bro. At first, my mission was to get insight on North Carolina's creative culture from people whose work I respected. But our conversations began to expose a feeling many people in our generation are starting to voice. People want to be their true selves, build on their God-given talents, and make a sustainable life out of it. But are we ever truly pointed in that direction? What happens when your parents, teachers, and society at large tell you it's outlandish to consider anything besides settling into a traditional 9-to-5 or going to get a degree you may not even use? You end up miserable. And I'm willing to bet there are millions of people living life unsatisfied because it was too late before they woke up and realized that their true goals weren't crazy. They were just different. If I had it my way, I would interview the entire population about this. But these next few stories painted the picture just fine.
So there's a really weird story, but I'll try to make it as quick as possible. I met this 84-year-old dude at a crepe shop, and he said, there's this talk in Winston-Salem about the future of economics. So I went with him, and they talked about how the future of economics is a molecular economy and not one of hierarchies where your boss tells you to send this thing to this person. It's that you're the creator of your goods, and you create and manage your own customers. Like, you're responsible for building your clientele. And that was, the audience was all the wealth of the triad, really. Like, all the established business people of the area. And they agreed. So, if the people that thrived in that system are, you know, looking forward to one of just entrepreneurialism, where everyone's their own boss, I don't know. I have high hopes for that. Also, I'm just not an advocate of people spending like 3 to 4 decades in a cubicle.
As I got older, realistic seemed to be the thing that a lot of adults were saying, like, prepare for the real world. It just don't sound like you can do this, or you need this before you can do this. So many steps and rules, because either they couldn't do it or haven't done it or never thought to do it. So yeah, as I got older, or when I was older, I heard more can'ts than I did when I was younger.
I wouldn't say society had such a big impact, more so than family. I think we were wanting to, and still do want to make them happy, you know, family. But I think initially for them, like my brother said, it was going to school, being educated, and pursuing a career. We did that. Like, we both have masters, but I choose not to use mine. It just got to a point where it was a breaking point kind of thing. And I'm very, very unhappy doing that and living that lie. It was absolutely horrible. I mean, I was working at UNCC. What was I doing in some research department? And it was just, I literally cry myself to sleep every night. Literally. It just gets to a point you can't do it anymore. You just can't.
I went to CP for journalism and communications, and then I transferred to UNCC, and I was still in journalism. And then even though I didn't want to be in school, I was like, if I'm going to be in loans for school, I might as well try to do something that's similar to what I'm doing. So I went for a semester for software information systems with a concentration in web development. So I learned a little bit from web development, which I don't regret, but I was only in school for a semester and a half doing that until I dropped out. So when I dropped out of college, that was one of the scariest moments of my life, but it was definitely the most impactful for my business. Both of my parents come from Liberia, West Africa, so education is really important to them because they wouldn't have been able to come to this country if it wasn't for my dad's education. I feel like education is really important for people to succeed, but I don't feel like that education has to come from a college or university. After I dropped out of college, I have invested in a lot of education, and it was things that were specific to what I was trying to do. I didn't really like college because I hated going to classes that I didn't excel in, and things like trying to learn calculus or whatever else that they were trying to teach me. It had nothing to do with my end goal as being a professional web designer or graphic designer. So those were things that I didn't enjoy. I used to go through a lot of anxiety still being in school when I didn't want to, and trying to debate whether or not I wanted to finish to please my parents or if I wanted to drop out to please myself. So just staying up every night trying to think about what I needed to do for my business, what I needed to do for school, like it was just all too much. And I finally dropped out. So I reached out to all of my instructors and I was like, I have to go out of town for business. Is there any way that I can make up this test or take it beforehand so I don't miss anything? And one of my math teachers told me that I would just have to fail the test and hope that one of my better grades replaced it. I had already failed a test, so I was just like, okay, this is ridiculous. So once he told me that, I was just completely over it. I was like, I'm in an environment where they don't really care about me succeeding because I put in the effort to see if I can make something like this up. But my business was just as important, if not more important to me than school was. So when he told me that I would have to fail, I was just like, okay, I'm not coming back. That was the last time that I set foot on campus. So I enjoyed Vegas. My parents didn't even know. They probably thought I was in class for that whole week or whatever. It was cool. It was fun. It was nice to not have to pay for anything. Then when I came back, that was in November. So I told my mom on the phone, I went grocery shopping at Food Lion. And for some reason, I was just like, well, let me just tell her right now while I'm at the grocery store. Worst decision ever. I was just like, yeah, I dropped out of school because I'm gonna work for myself full time. And I didn't even say it confidently because I was just so scared. She started saying that she failed me and she was a failure as a mom. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't take this. And it really, not only did it hurt my feelings, but it kind of just pissed me off because it was like, just because I want to go after my dreams, you're saying that you're a failure as a mom. And it really made me angry. And I started like yelling back at her while she was crying on the phone. And just started yelling in the middle of like the taco aisle at the grocery store. It was just a huge mess and I regret doing it that way, but we've moved past it. I ended up having to call her and apologize because it's not my mom's fault that she doesn't really understand.
When it comes down to, somebody understanding, our parents aren't millennials. Millennials, us today, we get everything simultaneously and we're looking at every job that we have as a stepping stone. The turnover ratio for jobs now is higher than ever before. You better off hiring a 50-year-old lady than you are hiring a 26-year-old guy because he's not going to be there next year. You might have 2 years out of them. That's why you got so many people flocking to Charlotte, because you can get a job so easy here because they know you need it for at least 2 years in order to figure out the city and all of that. So when you're a millennial, you're not looking at it like your mom and your dad was looking at it. My mom and my dad, they worked jobs 10, 15 years. My dad been at the same job since I can remember. You know, still working dialysis and stuff like that. He's a dialysis technician. My mom's a buyer for Train. So, you know, they work good jobs, but they want that entrepreneur life, but it's not. They can't fathom how to do it. They can't fathom, you know, that struggle that it takes to realize that you're not going to get paid every day. That your friends, they don't understand it. They ask you to go on trips. You need the money that you need to get to that flight that you're going to have to fund up front that you're not going to get reimbursed for 90 days when you're a model or when you're doing stuff for, you know, lifestyle purposes or blogging. You know, it's just not an orthodox life for somebody to understand, and you can't expect other people to understand it. And you're going to kill yourself thinking that your mom or your dad is going to understand.
I feel like people shouldn't be pressured into having to go to college. I don't feel like it should be the traditional norm. I feel like it should be optional. And I wasn't presented with that option to learn on my own or go to college. So I definitely learned some experiences, but I'm perfectly happy where I am now, and I'm glad that I dropped out.
Maya brought up a huge point here. Society and the educational system have this uniformed idea of what success is, how it looks, and the steps needed to achieve it. Creatives think outside of that box. Our natural skills and mindset lead us to pursue a lifestyle that allows us to earn a living through manifesting original ideas through whatever avenue that works for us. Sometimes that means having a non-traditional career or entrepreneurship altogether. As adults, we know that's okay, but as a kid you meet opposition, and it can deter you from your true path at a time when you're most impressionable. You don't have to take my word for it. I decided to visit a couple schools and let the students speak on the subject for themselves.
Why
do you feel self-conscious about talking?
I feel like I would embarrass myself to the point where I would, you know, like get down and like cry about it because I'm like a really sensitive person. And I was raised as like this little perfect, like they wanted me to have like this perfect little life, sort of. And they wanted me to have like all these expectations, and sometimes I feel like I can't live up to those expectations that people put me at this high pedestal. So that's why I feel like kind of self-conscious when I talk and stuff.
What kind of expectations are you talking about?
I'm usually expected to get like these like good grades and like have like some confident like standpoint for myself. And yet sometimes I don't feel that way at all. Am I about to cry?
How do you guys express your creativity?
I like to draw every so often.
Okay.
Helps me think.
That helps you what?
Helps me think.
Helps you think?
Get my thoughts across.
Okay.
Blogging, social media.
My man. I like him. Anybody else?
What you wear?
What you wear? True. Anybody else?
Writing.
Writing? Don't be y'all writing. Talk up. Okay. So, with that said, are those things that you guys just do in private? Do you share those things? How does that work for you guys?
Just depends.
On
Like,
what?
for example, when he said drawing, I draw too, but I won't show people my drawings. I like to keep them to myself. Like every now and then I'll show people what I draw, but most of the time I keep it to myself. But like what Imani said, with like clothes and style, that's not private. Like people will see me, they know my style, or they know her style, and you know.
Why do you choose to keep it to yourself most of the time?
I guess because I don't want anyone to judge what I draw, or like, you know, think, oh, that's ugly, or that's not good enough, or, you know, like that.
Anybody else? Does anybody else share their work? No? What are y'all's reasons for not sharing your work? Is it the same as hers?
I just don't do it.
I just don't do it. Okay. Anybody else? Why don't y'all share? Or do y'all share?
We're afraid to be viewed differently than how we want to be viewed.
Why are you afraid?
Because we're in a society where norms are set by the people around you, not by what's right and what's wrong.
You have expectations to be quote unquote a perfect kid, good grades and all that good stuff. Does that mean that you don't get to express the things that you really want or that you really believe in?
Yeah, sometimes.
And what are those things?
Like, there are like jobs in this world, like some like jobs in the arts and stuff, but my parents are like expecting me to be like
High score.
Quiet, guys, quiet.
like a doctor or like those high paying jobs, because like they came like immigrated from Vietnam and they were like all excited for me to be some successful person in life, because I know they want the best for me, but I feel like their best isn't what the best that I want to be, but what they want me to be. Gosh.
It's okay.
I feel you.
You're not the only one that feels
So if it was really my choice, I would move to New York to go to fashion school. But how it's set up, it requires so much money, and my family, we just don't have it like that. So the next thing I wanted to do is be a doctor. So my choice is going to Charlotte and going to school to study biology instead of going after fashion, which could possibly wait, because you don't always have to go to school to be a designer. You can always, do it as a side job, or own a store when you're older, things like that. So I had to put that off to, look at the big picture and see what would really bring money in.
And I remember one of my teachers telling me, I think it was Mr. Kine, I don't know. Anyways, that they said that you can be you can get that the jobs you want aren't the jobs that are gonna pay you high enough. So he said that the things we want to do, they could be outside hobbies, because the jobs that give you money aren't the jobs you want.
I love film, so I would love to be director or filmmaker. I would love that, but at the same time, the big picture. If I don't make it, or if my ideas are not on top, I can't I guess make something of it. So I decided to also do biology.
Y'all in this group, in this collective, do have an area of creativity that you have a passion for in some way or some shape or form, right? But there's this society has established what success looks like and what normal looks like, and those creative pursuits don't really fit in with what society and what your parents and what school has told you is logical to try to get. Correct?
Yep.
Does anybody in here see a problem with that?
Music is just as influential to my life as I would say school is. Music and school have kind of taught me, probably music more so has taught me than school, just in a general sense, and has gotten me through more things. But just the way that the society is set up, thousands and thousands of people fail for every one success. So there's more, logically, like you said, there's more of a chance to be successful in a less creative field.
I've always had expectations on how to meet, and though I'm really passionate about business and stuff, I think film is an amazing subject, something that I actually want to minor in, and I'd probably even major in it. But the thing is even my brother-in-law just graduated as a cinematography major from UCW. He's like $60,000 in debt, and there's no jobs. The market is saturated with people looking just like him. So the fact is that my expectations is to go to school and become a business administration major, not a cinematography major. So I'm kind of being forced in a way, even though it's my free choice, but guided to do something that it's something I'm passionate about, but it's something that's not really a hobby of mine.
A lot of times people have jobs that they don't like doing, like that sign up there says if you love your job, you never have to work a day in your life. I think that's like a big problem because people, they're really for something and then everybody around them just brings them down, so they don't really get to do what they really want to do. And then they go to a job and they don't really like it, so they don't work as hard. And then somebody could have invented something that nobody would have thought of. So then you've just wasted time. You haven't lived up to your full potential.
It's close to insanity to give up on your true passions, if that's really what you want to do, out of the fear of not making it. I think regardless of what, first of all, I think any job you can be creative in, business, art, typing, regardless, lines that's engineering. Everything has some form of art to it. I think a big part of the creative process is finding out how do you make your passion lucrative? How do you actually make a living off of it? And I think something that happens is just as like a vicious circle, just life point blank. We see these examples of people who have tried, whether they be our parents or somebody in the media or whatever, and we say, oh no, all right, they didn't do it and they're advising me not to do it, so let me go this more formed, easy route. And I think that's what kind of kills a lot of people, is just because if you're passionate about something, like, everybody has a natural gift, everybody has purpose. But it sounds like a lot of y'all are just kind of passing up on that purpose to kind of just look for something that's going to support you in a society that doesn't really care about you. I'm going further. See, you're too grown.
Might be a swing coming in terms of the careers that people value or what they're being pushed toward. I think one of the other detrimental things in terms of education and creativity is that if you are seen as a creative person and encouraged to follow that field, sometimes they pull you out of classes that are extremely helpful, like accounting or how to price your products in a way that sells, or marketing and that kind of thing. And I think if there was a creative education that also included those business skills, people would be a lot more likely to succeed, and then it would be, you know, a roll-down effect where people are seeing other people succeed, and so it's encouraged more often. But right now, I think it's just not combined because people feel like creatives either don't want to learn that or that they're not capable of it, which isn't true.
You have kids that are kind of thrust into the system of taking tests and getting categorized by skill sets that you're measuring, not pertaining to the individual, but just to a group of people, but they're all different. And they visualize and compartmentalize things in a different way. And they, everything doesn't have to be so orderly. And I felt like at that point in the documentary, I got verified. I got some type of backing, at least, for lack of a better term, emotionally, I guess. Like, I knew I was doing the right thing. Having those kids, you know, say what it was that they really wanted to do with their lives, and kind of accepting it maybe out loud for the first time, that was dope to be a part of that. And I knew I was talking about something then. So that was cool. While I was giving my last words to the kids, I mentioned that I ended up going to New York. For me, leaving North Carolina was a necessity for my career. I hit a point where my growth required me to go to a bigger market. That's a sour spot for a lot of people in NC. While some believe you've got to go to a major hub to get your career off the ground, some just don't agree with having to do that.
I think it's just kind of whack, man. Like, we have like so much talent in North Carolina, and they're being forced to relocate just to get a chance to break out. Oh man, I gotta go to Georgia. I gotta go to Florida. I gotta go to New York. I gotta go to California. You know, all these other places, so-called with better. You know, they're more recognized for being, you know, hey, this is your chance to break. It's just kind of whack to me, man. I just don't understand why North Carolina can't produce their own talents and make people, you know, be recognized here in North Carolina. It's kind of whack.
No, if you can't do it here, you're not gonna be able to do it nowhere else. Every time you go somewhere else, we all do that. If I had X, Y, and Z, I'd be so much better at doing what? This just don't have this. This is like, bruh, instead of complaining, like, just work. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing that's gonna keep you from getting it done here. If anything, you're going into a more saturated market, you're gonna have more obstacles.
Courtney Jefferson, spell it out. COURTNEY-JEFFERSON.
We all that's cool.
It's kind of weird.
I am from both North Carolina and New York, I guess you could say that. Moved down here to go to college. Well, I moved to North Carolina to go to college when I finished up school, stayed a couple years, worked in my field, and now I'm back in New York, so.
You can stay, you can talk to me.
Okay. And I am a photographer and a creative consultant, so. Right now, consultation side, I do work for Reebok, and I do a lot of social media coordination, like every 5th photo they put out and stuff like that right now on the Reebok Classics and Reebok Global pages or whatnot. It'll be like my photos. And other clients, I work with a really good clothing brand out here called FCC. They're really big, but I do all of their product photography. And I also work with a school called Bija, which is they're like a preparatory school in downtown Brooklyn. So I would choose to come to New York because I felt like I could get further than being in North Carolina, using my skill set up here. The pool is bigger. You know, you multiply all those people, it's more prospective clients, it's more inquiries, it's more jobs getting done. So my thing was that, I don't know, you could be the dopest photographer in Greensboro, North Carolina and still not make no money doing it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I couldn't have that be me. Like, it depends on the person individually as well. Like, depends on what you're trying to do. But like, there are a lot of fields that you can progress in North Carolina. I just didn't know how I was gonna do it hip hop and photography wise. Me coming up here was definitely, in my opinion, a better avenue for me to use. And you know, I shot in North Carolina for 6-7 years. So it wasn't like I made a rash decision to leave or anything like that. And it was hard to leave. I miss cookout and seeing my mama and hanging out with my brothers and, you know, doing all those types of things. Like I see people go to homecoming and I get mad. You know what I mean? I'll be like, I'm gonna just have to block y'all off during this stuff because, you know, but I'll be up here. I don't know, for what I do, it's definitely, I wouldn't say better because some of the best photographers I know are North Carolinians. Like I know some really ill photographers in North Carolina. I know really ill writers and rappers and stuff like that are from NC, but it's just the volume of people. When you play that numbers game, New York is gonna win.
A lot of people move to different states because the industry isn't here. Like if you wanna be a model, you're not about to be popping here, not for real. Not if you're trying to do like, you know what I'm saying? Like a platform such as Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. You're gonna have to move to where the industry is to make it. Music industry is, you can't say it's here. Yes, we have some really dope studios, but we're not known for that. We are still a banking city, you know? Even with movies, they talk about doing something with East Mall or whatever. Yes, we have different studios, but industry isn't here, so these artists, they have, or I don't know if they have to, but they choose to pursue their career. They go to where the industry is. I'm not knocking them. Do what you gotta do, but then come home, you know, make it happen here. That's all. Make it happen here. My name is Davita Galloway. This is my brother, Deon Galloway. We were born and raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, about an hour or so up the road. Not too far.
Yeah, we're the phone is a Compass Swat located in Noda.
You know, it's a creative space. We have hair and beauty services that are provided in the studio by Renita and Gia Atkinson. We also have clothes provided from people that are local to Charlotte.
Rent the space out for different events and so forth. So photo shoots, video shoots, parties, panel discussions, you name it. It's the play box we can transform for a variety of events.
Man, Charlotte's shown so much love to us, and they've, in essence, have grown with us and allowed us to grow. Like the creativity aspect never stops. It never ends. So, with that being said, the revenue and the profit generation and all of that, granted that is important because we need to stay here, right? We need to stay in business, but because our business is just kind of like, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's always constantly something. I believe it just kind of, you know, comes natural, man. Again, it's
rent is real. We can just go ahead and say that rent is real. But because we have this space and because we are creative, it just allows us to come up with all these different ways to make money to cover this space, you know? So, I mean, that's just a part of it. We know we have to pay rent, so we have to do X amount of things to cover rent. And we create all kinds of events and projects and initiatives to do it. Yeah.
Dup and Swat has been around for years, and I was impressed and motivated by the way they've been able to reinvent their space with fresh ideas to keep the bills paid and the doors open. But it also got me thinking. A big issue for creatives anywhere is that we have such great ideas and awesome work ethic, but we miss out on resources that can free us up from financial strain. That way we can focus our energy on executing our ideas. This is either because we're unaware of the resources available, don't know where to find them, or we don't have access to the networks that provide those resources. With this in mind, I realized that I had to dig deeper and find examples of people who were able to obtain resources to take their ideas to the next level. Along the way, I found the answer to the very issue a lot of my interview subjects highlighted at the beginning of the documentary: the fact that there's not enough collaboration. One of the answers to that is sitting right under our noses: co-working spaces that offer the resources we need while putting us in the same room to build together.
I think it's really important for, just creatives and, people like us in general to think about corporate sponsorships to help fund, the art. Because passion can only take you so far before you start to resent it, right? This kind of thing helps. I mean, it gives you like a certain comfort level where you can start to sort of like think out of the box and think about these little touches and think about who we invite into the space, or, the curation of it, which I don't think, had we just been focused on like, we just need to get people in here, like then we're just providing office space, and that's not what this is supposed to be.
Ask and make sure that within the ask there's clear value provided. I wouldn't just go, machine gunning sponsorship proposals out to every company. I would be intentional. Like, why should Ortho Carolina sponsor the living room? Ortho Carolina is an entrepreneurship that is privately owned. They all started this from the ground up with 2 doctors, and now it's this massive organization. They wanted to support us as entrepreneurs and also everyone else as entrepreneurs. That little connection is more than enough for them to see the value in providing space like this. They also, they essentially support every nonprofit that walks into that space now. Yeah. That's huge for them.
It has to make sense for the company too. They have feelings too. You don't want to be like, can I have some money? And you're like, this doesn't make sense for us. It has to feel good for them. So, I think it's hard to ask because it's your baby, and if they're like, no, that'll hurt your feelings. But present it in a way that is like, 1, just ask, and 2, to say, this will help you too. Like, if you're not confident in that, just say like, I can honestly deliver this to you. Why would they want to put their name on it? Well, hygge it's a Danish word and doesn't translate completely to English, but it's supposed to mean this feeling of home, or this feeling of belonging, comfort. It's often described as like having good conversation and good food and being surrounded by good friends. And I really wanted it to be like a really weird word. So it was either that, there was something else we wanted to, but that meant like cow. Turtle, yeah. Yeah. And it means like cow dingleberries.
We came from co-working, and I know we both believe in not necessarily even the collaboration, but there's something to being energized when you're around like-minded people and smart people and people that are incredibly motivated. We have lifestyle brands, we have nonprofits, we have designers, developers, we have some marketers who are awesome. We have an architect. These are incredibly smart people, and we can learn so much from them.
There's so many people doing like such cool things. And what's great about co-working, to kind of bring it back, is like Garrett said, all the people that are here are from so many different perspectives. They have so many different perspectives, backgrounds, occupations, life stories. Like, we get to interact with that every day.
Fun.
Super cool.
One of the things that started Redress was that I wanted an event that appealed to new people. So I wanted to have a fashion show that pulled in new people to the green building aspect. And the other reason that Redress was created was that there was not a fashion show in this area that was innovative, wearable, and accessible, but still had the eco-friendly aspect. I reached out to other people who had experience in the fashion industry, and then we started planning. And the first one we had in 2009, I just loved it. I loved the fashion show coming together as an event, and I loved the creativity of all of the different designers. I loved the energy behind the models and them strutting on the catwalk. I loved everything about it. So it was at that time that I really started thinking about a career transition from architecture into fashion and textiles. So growing people's education in terms of what they're purchasing and why it matters is one major aspect of what my company does. The other aspect is the nurturing independent designers, because right now they will go to school and have dreams of becoming a fashion designer, but unfortunately they either get out of school and then see how things really are and get very upset about it and don't follow that dream anymore, or they move. So for us, we want people to stay here and to continue growing that dream here in this area.
As an African American, you could capitalize your company, you could fully staff it, run it, and grow it, all within the Black community. So I'm the new CEO of NC Idea, foundation across the street that's funding startups. And we're really looking at what happened to that rich history that was here. How do we re-energize it? Because diversity is going to be the key to economic security. By 2040, you're going to be in the majority in the population. So if you're not having a voice in the private equity community, in the startup community, you're going to be ill-equipped to handle that. So, I'm trying to bring awareness to it so that you all become that change agent within your community, and be the change that you want to see, so you can start controlling some of those conversations and leading those conversations.
So you talked about urban renewal and city planning that basically carved up Black neighborhoods because we didn't have the power to be able to say, no, you can't do that. We were at the bottom of the boot of development for other industry to flourish on the husks of our crippled businesses, 147 being an example of that. But even in Wilmington, I think about the Wilmington riots. And so whether it's like subtle, through urban planning, or straight up violent, like loading a Gatling gun on the back of a carriage and shooting people, burning down newspapers and shooting people out, Rosewood, Tulsa, the other Black Wall Street. It didn't just disappear, it was blown out of existence because of that kind of repressive pushback that comes with Black resiliency. There's always pushback. So I think that history is not kind of lost upon me either, especially in North Carolina, where SNCC was founded and where the sit-in movement started in Greensboro. That's a part of our legacy too. And that's also stuff I didn't learn until I was in college. So.
Runaway, yeah. So it's like a runaway kid. That's what the logo kind of embodies, is a person who is a runaway. So I guess it's twofold. People are runaways, but then also you are running away from something as part of the ethos of the company. So running from convention is the kind of standard that we are setting with the company. And the idea is that you're running not from fear, but running towards your passions, or running towards something greater than yourself. And that can be accomplished through any specific or any different avenue. The brand was growing, and we had both kind of invested a good amount of time in it and felt like it was the point that, that people hope to reach, where it's like, this is all or nothing. Either we're gonna do this or it's never gonna go anywhere and we're kind of wasting our time. And so we both, Gabe before me, but we both kind of decided like, we're gonna drop what we're doing for the most part and really invest in this thing because we feel confident about its success. And so American Underground came to us and said, hey, we're expanding into this building across the street, and we want to talk to you guys about the potential for having retail space on the first floor. And for us, that was, the space, I mean, it's right behind us. It's right in the heart of downtown. So that was a point where we really felt like this was the moment for us to take advantage of all the resources that we have available to us to really stake our flag in Durham. Where we are now is the bullpen. So it's where most of the co-working takes place. And so each one of these people has they rent a desk. So instead of renting an entire office, you can rent a desk for a cheaper rate, but you still get most, if not all, of the same amenities as an office. I definitely think that spaces like this, whether it's through resources and just the camaraderie of the companies, it's similar in the creative space here, where even though some people might be competitors in some respects, the more the scene grows, it's better for everyone, no matter what. So there's very much this energy behind everyone. I mean, you can see like on these two posters here, they're from the annual report. So these are all the statistics from the past year. This 7% of companies last year in the American Underground were female-led. They're up to 30% this year. So like that type of impact is really powerful, and I think it speaks to the amount of energy that people put in, not just their companies, but just in the ecosystem as a whole. And so I think that there's opportunity for a space like this, specifically for creatives.
With spaces like American Underground, HQ Raleigh, HQ Greensboro, Huga, and a few more co-working spaces and incubators throughout the state, all powered by the likes of Google, Wells Fargo, IBM, NC State, and more, it's safe to say that there are resources available to either fund your idea or serve as a space to work and collaborate with other like-minded people. It's up to us to make use of the resources available. North Carolina's come a long way in terms of empowering its own creatives and entrepreneurs, with much more ground to cover. One thing's for sure, as far as being a creative...
I mean, it's a ride, man. It's life in general. Like, you have ups, you have great days where it's like, oh snap, I'm being part of a documentary. And then you got days where it's like, all right, shoot, I kind of do want to pay on my student loans. How can I make that happen when I ain't got, I don't got the consistent bread because I don't have a 9 to 5, you know what I mean? So it's an interesting way of life, man, but at the end of the day, like, it's super, super rewarding. And I know that the end result will be that much more rewarding because it's rewarding on a day-to-day basis. So, I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to actually be in a position where that infrastructure is in place. And it's like, okay, I don't have to worry about my kids. They get to do whatever they want to do, marry. If these are goals of yours, married, house, money's not an issue, check to check, whatever. Or project to project, job to job. It's not an issue, so. That's what the journey's like. It's just life in general. It brings life to the forefront, as opposed to like, oh, work now, and then like when you're 60, you get to live. It's like, no, like work and live at the same time. Bring the two things together. Like, live your life and find ways, that people will pay you and reward you for your skill set along the way.